This time's video will be about novels. Now, when I say novels, I don't mean the Western kind of novel or the typical kind of novel. I'm talking specifically about light novels or web novels. So, what's a light novel? Well, if you want to see a damn picture, this is a light novel. In terms of size, this is my palm, this is the book. In terms of thickness, this is the width of my finger, and this is the book. So yeah, it's not exactly a big book, and it's not exactly a thick book either. So what's the selling point? What's the pros? What's the cons? Now, of course, there's financial value as well as enjoyment or entertainment values. So let's dissect those first. Now, if we're to compare the amount of media exposure you'd get out of a manga or a light novel in terms of 1,000 yen, you'd get around 15 minutes more or less of enjoyment out of manga, and with that same cost of 1,000 yen you'd get around 2 hours worth of enjoyment out of a light novel for an average reader at least. So yeah, that's a huge leap. But of course there are its pros and its own cons. First of all, it's a tax heavy material. It's mostly text, meaning if you're one of those people who enjoys pictures more than texts, and you're one of those who thinks one picture is worth 1,000 words, then maybe this is not quite the media for you. But the thing is, usually an anime is based off a manga, and that manga, well, some might be the original material itself, others, however, are dependent on another source material, which usually is this, light novels. Light novels are unique in a way that, despite being the primary media, it has less consumers than its, well, adaptations. Think of it this way. People who read manga are more likely to watch an anime because they are already exposed and they like the material. So when they see an adaptation of it, sure, why not? But people who only watches TV or watches Netflix or whatever the like, well, even if they don't read the manga, they might still get exposed to that media. So in that sense, the exposure is for new people as well as older people that enjoys the media in terms of, veteran or non-veteran, not actual age. But at that point in time, it also shows the purpose of the adaptations, which is basically promotion to get more people exposed to the franchise itself, and then maybe they do it in hopes of people that are newly exposed reaching out for the older or original medias to fill in the blanks, which is why anime will always skip content. In that sense, if you want the complete information of a media, you go to the primary media, which is usually these light novels. But just because it's a wall of text doesn't mean that light novels don't have pictures. No. Obviously, the cover has arts, and this art obviously depicts some characters. And not only that, usually, in most cases, more like I've never seen one where this is not the case, there's always a color panel which has a colored illustration, and other than that, there's always the inner panel which also has some illustrations, though they are not exactly colored, they are black and white illustrations like this. Okay, so they have illustrations, but if you want illustrations, obviously manga's better because it's all pictures. So, what's the deal? What's the big fuss? Now, if you've seen the manga video, I explained there that because the anime is drawn as a mass production of picture rather than specific picture for specific frame, the overall quality of the art itself is generally reduced. Now, this case is even more explicit for manga because instead of drawing pictures with similar gestures and similar postures again and again, at least for that particular page or that particular framing, well, in here, a picture only depicts one scenario like this. This picture only depicts a scenario from maybe 1, 2, or maybe 3 lines on this page's text, and that means that the illustrator can take more time to draw each particular pictures compared to, well, a mangaka, or even more obviously, an animator. So in terms of art, I do tend to enjoy the art style of manga and light novels more than I do enjoy the art style of anime. And for me, well, it is something to be said about, because why can't everything be top quality? It is still something to appreciate and enjoy. So that's some of the pros and some of the cons. But what's the decisive factor? Why do people that watch the anime or read the manga go for light novels outside of seeking out the fill-in-the-blank portion left out by the anime? Here's the thing. Nowadays, we consume our medias on the internet. Netflix, or maybe some piracy sites. You name it, you know it. And the thing is, most of the time there's this thing called the comment section, or there's this thing called the social media, where some pricks would just start leaking spoilers everywhere. And when you're exposed to those, some might be chill, but for some others, well, let's just say that they basically ruined the show, because now they know what's gonna happen next. That takes away the satisfaction of knowing when it happens, and that basically reduces the entire experience to meh. So yeah, when you're reading the source material, you're obviously gonna know ahead what's gonna happen. Now, in that case, you're really just watching the anime to relive certain scenes with voices and colors and all that. Good stuff, yes. But the thing is, no one can spoil you the ending, because you already know the ending. And heck, if they try to spoil you the ending of chapter 1, you can go ahead and spoil them the ending of chapter 10. That's a thing you can do. Don't do it, but just saying, you can fight back. And that's why some people just read the light novel, because they don't want to get spoiled. If they're gonna have to know it first either way, better know it themselves than have someone spoil it for them. And then there's, of course, always that certain factor I mentioned earlier, price. Now, the target demographic for most light novels are teenagers. Though even though they are the target demographics, that does not mean that adults are not allowed to enjoy it. Of course, adults can buy whatever they want and enjoy whatever they want, but because the target demographics are teenagers, these books do not cost that much. As I mentioned earlier, 1,000, but it's not exactly 1,000. I'm just saying in terms of context to compare it to manga. But at the same time, the actual price is somewhere around 500 to 1,000, most averaging at around 750, 800, or maybe 650. That kind of gives you an idea of the price of these things, at least in Japanese yen. Now, given if you're an enjoyer from overseas, you might have to depend on either imports if you want to read the Japanese version, or translation if you live in America or those other places where they translate these things into English, or your respective nation's version of the transcripts. But the thing is, they're always going to upmark the price. Even if it's just a straight up import, there's always gonna be that cost, because, well, they're there to make profits. And the thing is, because of that price that I mentioned earlier, that's a target demographic in terms of market specifically for Japan. It might not be the case for other places. What was that? Oh well. So yeah, do I recommend going into light novels? Hell yeah. Do I recommend not going to light novels? Some people if you're impatient, some people if you don't like reading and all of that. But what's the ultimate deal? The thing is, because it's a wall of text, you're basically reading. When you're reading, you're basically practicing your language or linguistic skills. So yeah, you get to enjoy the material and you also get to learn something from it. So If you're a learner, yeah, I definitely suggest this. So that's it for this video about novels. I hope you enjoy it.